Welcome to the Wine Nirvana podcast. Wine reviews for the average wine drinker. No pretense, no snobbery, no numerical ratings. And here's our host, Stephen Hawk.
Hello, seekers of knowledge and truth in wine. Yes, this is Stephen Hawk, your phlegmatic host. So, summer is now officially over, and the days are getting shorter and hopefully cooler, which is fine with me because you know what? I hate summer. And if you are someone who lives in an area of the country that has winter, you know, in early March when you start saying, oh, I wish this winter was over. Well, that's me right now. I wish this summer were over. But, hey, there are still plenty of nice days to get out and enjoy what actually should be even nicer weather. Easily 6 weeks, if not 2 months. And plenty of time to get out and still enjoy some nice, refreshing wines with friends at a safe social distance, of course. So I've got a number of recommendations for you today by grape variety and some specific recommendations of actual bottles. What you don't want, let me just say this, when the weather's warm, you don't want a rich, buttery, heavily oaked, like a Chardonnay. And I say heavily oaked because as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as an over-oaked Chardonnay. So these are going to be ABC wines, anything but Chardonnay. And you take notes if you want to, but you don't have to. There is also a blog post on Wine Nirvana where all these wines are listed. So you can also go that way. So, okay, number one. And these are more or less alphabetical, too. Number one, Aligoté. This is the other white wine grape from France's Burgundy region. It is usually citrusy, and it can have some nice nutty undertones. But you should seek it out as soon as possible because that whole area is being widely replanted with the much more profitable Chardonnay. So, one to try would be the Didier Montchevette, and it's somewhat unusual because that wine is fermented in enamel-lined tanks instead of the more traditional stainless steel, and the resulting wine usually has vegetal notes and plenty of acidity. Number two, Portugal is justly famous for its port dessert wines, but it's not a one-trick wine country. They make plenty of other wines as well. One is Alvarinho. This hails from the Vinho Verde region in Portugal, and this is a thick-skinned grape, often resulting in wines with a nice creaminess, with flavors of apricots, peaches, and citrus. And by the way, by the time I'm finished, you're going to be hearing citrus a lot. A specific Alvarinho from Portugal would be Regueiro del Melgaço. This is a very fresh wine with, yes, citrus in it and flavors of stones and also some exotic fruit. Now, if you cross the border into Spain, Alvarinho becomes Albarino. One to try from Spain would be Solnaval. This one has stone fruit on the palate, and yes, citrus. And there's the refreshing Conde de Albari. Again, stone fruits with tastes of melon and some actual stony minerality. And there is also the racy Brandal with citrus flavor complemented by tangerine and mineral undertones. Number 3, Opa. Okay. Opa it's not a grape. It's not a wine. I am in the Chicago region, and at least here, every Greek restaurant serves an appetizer called saganaki. And what this is, it's a firm white cheese that is baked on a platter. And then once it's softened, the server will brings the sizzling platter out to the table with a shot of brandy, which he pours onto the cheese and then ignites. And because the platter is hot, the brandy just explodes in a huge plume of flame. And so everyone at the table says, Opa! I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that tradition comes from, but there it is. So from the Greek island of Santorini comes Assyrtiko. This wine has nice flavors of honeysuckle, complemented by citrus, and plenty of acidity to bind everything together. One to try would be from Chetziveriti, Urinome. And this one's got some aromas of white flowers in there. The, again, ubiquitous citrus, plenty of minerality, and hints of spice in the background. And then there's also Thalassites, very minerally selection, and racy acidity. And the flavors are of lemon, spices, and a little bit of herbs. Number 4, Italy's famous Soave wine is made from the Garganega grape. And this grape often yields, when handled properly, fine, elegant wines, usually with a hint of almond in there, which is rather unusual. The Imacieri from Angiolino Mole is a nice, light, fresh wine with notes of mineral, plenty of tangerine, lemon, and grapefruit. Number 5. The Grenache Blanc from Spain, also grown in France, is a grape that yields wines usually high in alcohol and low in acidity. And although it's often grown in Spain and France, it does show up in plenty of other countries like the good old US of A. And the Acquiesce comes from Lodi, California. And this is a wine with nice pear flavors, suggestion of honey, not too sweet, and wildflowers. And then it's also got honeysuckle on the palate with tropical fruit and minerals backing that up. Number 6, Gruner Veltliner. I love that. Gruner Veltliner. Gruner Veltliner is a white wine grape, very popular in Austria, and is also grown extensively throughout Eastern Europe. It makes pale, crisp, light to medium-bodied wines, often that have a subtle spice flavor on the palate. 2 to try would be, 1, a sparkling wine from Schlumberger Gruner Veltliner Classic, which is a bright yellow with a little bit of green in the color and a very nice fizz. A still wine alternative would be the Loimer Lois, which makes a very nice, bright, crisp white wine. Number 7. This is Melon de Bourgogne. This grape was first established in Burgundy, but it's now mostly grown in the Loire Valley of France, and it's also known as Muscadet, if it's from the Paye-Mante subregion. This wine is often made sur lie, and this is a technique where the juice, after the wine is pressed, the dead yeast cells and sediment settle to the bottom of the tank. And when a wine is aged sur lie, the juice is allowed to sit on top of that precipitate for, however much time the winemaker thinks is appropriate. And this will often add a depth and a complexity to the wine's flavors. And this wine will often have a soft, creamy mouthfeel and citrus. One to try would be the Marc Presnot, who makes La Bohème. And it's got all of those characteristics. Also, there's some flowers in there, taste of grapefruit and figs. Henri Poiron makes a bone-dry Domaine de Quatre Routes, which I think is House of the Four Roads, but I don't know. There's a nose of green apple on this wine and pineapple. So those flavors come through, plus some lemon peel. Number 8, Pinot Grigio or Pinot Gris, depending on where it is grown. And you'll see either of those on wine labels. It's exactly the same grape, though. I have to say, it's widely planted in Italy. Very popular wine. I like it. I drink it. I don't find it to be that exciting, but it is it's a real workhorse wine, often available at good price points. And the Pinot Gris can make crisp, light, dry wines if they're from northern Italy, and they can even be rich, fat, and honeyed when they come from the Alsatian region of France. An Italian would be the Luna Nuda from Alto Adige. This is a bright, fresh wine with flavors of citrus, apples, and minerals. From Australia, there's the Lindemans Bin 35, a very widely available wine. Lindemans is just everywhere. With, yes, citrus, white stone fruit, some grassiness, not too much though, a high acid level. And from Willamette, damn it, there is the Left Coast Cellars offering the Orchards. And again, this one shows flavors of light citrus, a hint of flowers, a medium body, a nice creamy mouthfeel, and medium acidity to back it all up. Number 9, Riesling. Okay, I'm going to be honest about this up front. Although Riesling is, by all accounts, one of the world's greatest white wine grapes and makes classic food-friendly wines in a range of styles from quite dry to very sweet, I've never been much of a fan. So, this baffled me for a long time, but I finally figured it out. I find that most Rieslings exhibit both an aroma and a taste of oil. At their best, it's like olive oil. At their worst, it's like motor oil, at least to me. And too often, I find they lean towards the motor oil. But if you can get past that, they do have a zippy acidity with flavors of spice, peaches, and apricots. From Germany comes the Armand Riesling Cabernet with, yes, spice and acid and a bit of sweetness. The Schloss Schönborn Marcobrunn is a nice, elegant wine with flavors of apricots, peaches, tangerines, minerality, and some spice. From California, particularly the Santa Cruz region, there is Ser Dry Riesling, S-E-R. Sadly, the wildfires have been raging out of control there recently. Hopefully, Ser has not been damaged. This Riesling has a nice tart citrus flavor with lime, pear, and apple, and the oil quality was very much restrained. It was one of the few Rieslings I really enjoyed. The J. Lohr Bay Mist is an off-dry wine with a medium body with flavors of honeysuckle, some spice, lush mouthfeel, tropical fruits, and pears. And from Austria, there is Gobelsberger. This is a dry wine with lovely white peach flavors supported by nectarine, apricot, and pepper. And again, from Australia, the Jacobs Creek Reserve. This is a very easy drinking, crisp wine with plenty of juicy citrus and widely available in any grocery store. Number 10. Roussanne comes from France's Rhone region and easily makes delicate, refined wines. But my selection today is from California. This is the Edmonds St. John from Paso Robles. This is an oily wine with flavors of mangoes, baking spices, honey, and a nice, vibrant acidity. And from Sonoma, the always reliable Klein makes a Marsanne and Roussanne blend. It shows plenty of honey, orange, pineapple and minerals on the palate. This is a wine that is completely unoaked. And when looking for a refreshing summer wine, you're going to want to find something that has little or no oak, because you want that tart freshness. Number 11, Sauvignon Blanc. This is the final grape we're going to be talking about, and probably the one you would have been most likely to have heard about. This grape is grown around the world, including France and California and New Zealand over the last three or four decades has been doing really good work with it. It offers plenty of acidity and minerality, makes very nice crisp wines, and they are best when young. You should get through them in 2 or 3 years after release. Sauvignon Blanc is truly a classic summer wine. My one issue, if you will, with Sauvignon Blanc is it can have a grassy or herbaceous flavor, which can be subtle or in your face. I do not like that. Some people do. Some people enjoy that. Not for me. But you can certainly find Sauvignon Blancs without that grassiness or with just a hint of it. So, from Napa, California, comes Rombauer. This is the same Rombauer family that is responsible for the Joy of Cooking cookbook. And they make a refreshing Sauvignon Blanc with flavors of grapefruit, lime, white peach, and just a smidgen of grass. Riley's Rose out of Sonoma is a winery owned by a 20-year-old young woman who is still in college. How can she do this, you wonder? Well, her father is a very well-established winemaker himself, and so she works through his winery. Not a bad start, though, if you want to get into the wine business. Her wine is just almost completely colorless, with a nose of papaya, honeydew, and it's a little bit of sweetness on the palate, and then followed with lemon, grapefruit, and absolutely no grassiness, which was just fine with me. So, from the famous New Zealand, Tepa. This wine has flavors of gooseberry, nectarine, minerals, and flint. Kim Crawford is an international powerhouse producer. Again, you'll find Kim Crawford just about anywhere. And they make a Sauv Blanc that is tart with a refreshing grapefruit component. It's completely dry, and it ends with just a bit of flint. And Whitehaven is a small producer, so they are going to be harder to find. But they offer a medium-bodied wine with gooseberry and dry, clean flavors. And here's a note about New Zealand. If you buy a wine from New Zealand, it's going to come with a screw cap instead of a cork. And this goes back nearly 20 years now. A group of New Zealand producers researched various wine closures, and they settled on screw caps as the most reliable way to assure the quality of wines are maintained for both reds and whites. And so they started heavily promoting this, and today something like 98% of wines from New Zealand are going to come with a screw cap. And Australia has also, not as widely, but they've extensively embraced the screw cap idea as a closure. And a wine from Australia would be Bird in Hand. And it's got flavors of gooseberry, passion fruit, and the always yummy lemon curd. So, as you can tell, if you cannot find, some of these specific wines, they all do share common traits. Citrus, yes. Some minerality, that stony flavor on the palate, and crisp acidity. If you look for those three characteristics for a summer sipper, you are not going to go wrong. So, that's it for today. See you later.
This is a production of Habanero Media.